Hi everybody, I'm Jonathan Campbell, and I want to start tonight by telling you about a hallucination I had one time. I know it's probably not where you expect the presentation to start, but I'm going to tell you, give you a little bit of context. I was paralyzed in a bicycle accident 12 years ago. I used to race BMX. It's something I had done since I was 12 years old, and I was at my local track, and I just lost control and crashed, and next thing I knew, I couldn't move. And so when I was in the hospital, I was under sedation, and I had a lot of hallucinations. And one of those hallucinations, I remember I was being carried by a group of people through the woods, and there was a lighthouse in the woods. And I remember one of the people telling me that's where my life began. And it was an image that stuck with me for a while, and after rehab, I was in a really dark place. And I was living up here among memories that I had grown up around, able-bodied memories of my life that I had had. And so it was very difficult for me to be up here, and I didn't know anybody. And one of the things, one of the ways I chose to look at the lighthouse and the trees was that the lighthouse was where my life began, and the light shined out into the distance till it faded out. And that trees represented traumas or injuries or terrible things that happened in your life, and they would block the light and forever cast a shadow throughout the rest of my life. And it's kind of a dark way of looking at things, and I thought, I guess the object of one's life is to try to get through life avoiding as many of these trees popping up as you could possibly have. So one of the things that helped get me on the road to recovery, for starters, was I played wheelchair rugby, and it was one more opportunity to fall and crash, but it was really great for me because I met people who had been through the same injury that I had, and I met people who were newly injured along with people that had been injured for years and kind of had it down, and so I could commiserate with the newly injured people and be inspired by the people that had been injured for several years. And so it was it really helped me a lot. And so the second thing that was really big for me was when I got my van, because it gave me the freedom to get around, Prior to that, I had to take either Metro Access or which you have to schedule in advance, and it's really a pain. Or in a friend's car, be transferred into a seat. So this van allowed me to drive again, and I loved it because it gave me freedom. And when you're out on the road, nobody knows whether you're in a wheelchair or not. So I can be as mean of a driver as everyone else. And I think in this area, that's kind of how you have to be. So one other thing that helped me recover, and this was a big surprise, at one point, I decided to get a puppy. And that's Sadie. She's a black lab. And if you're a dog owner here, you know that owning a dog is the gateway to meeting other dog owners and getting to know other people. And so started taking my dog to the dog park and got to know a lot of other people. And this is all of us. We have a family at my father's swimming pool. Every year we have a Labrador Day party, and it is where all my friends and dog friends go and get to swim for a day. And so that was a big part of getting to meet people and start to have a life again. So having a dog, though, one of the things I did, I was on Twitter at the time, and a lot of my friends got tired of me tweeting about my puppy. And so I decided, well, why not put my dog on Twitter, where my dog could talk about what it's like to be a dog and complain about her dad a lot, things like that. But one of the surprising things, and this is probably the greatest thing, was that my dog got about 200 followers, and one of those, I know, crazy, right? Who would follow a dog? 200 human beings out there following a dog. But one of those human beings was a woman named Lori. And my dog introduced me to Lori. And then we started talking on Twitter. And then we got to know each other. And then we fell in love together. And yeah, she's here clicking my PowerPoint. I think they're applauding your putting up with me, is what that is. Yeah, clicking. So, so basically, the lighthouse among the trees is still a strong metaphor in my life, but it means something completely different now. What I realize, and have realized over the years, is that I am not, and none of us are, a lonely lighthouse in a forest full of trees. We are all lighthouses, and that dark areas of my life can be illuminated by my friends and the people in my life, my family. And they can make really painful periods of my life not so painful and tolerable. And so that's a big way, that's the way I choose to look at things nowadays. So one other thing that was big in my recovery was my creative outlets. I like to write, and I do video stuff, and I work, and got into electronics and 3D printing. And when I was growing up, I used to tinker in my dad's workshop, and because of my injury, I can't use my hands that well. I lost function, and I never thought tinkering with things would be something I could do again. But I got into 3D printing, and what the 3D printing allows me to do is, it's a substitute for sanding and grinding, and I can design something in CAD and print it out. And if it doesn't work out well, I can print it out again. Could I get a sip of water real quick, please?
Somewhere that water.
This is my Marco Rubio moment. I'm going to try not to lean over as far left.
You want to hold on to that? Or did you do that?
Why would I hold on to it? It's empty. All right. Lori, ladies and gentlemen, Lori. So, getting into electronics and things has been a creative outlet for me over the years. And one of the things that I started developing was a device. And there's a reason I started developing this. There's a condition that's people's spinal cord injuries, and a lot of people in wheelchairs have to worry about. It's a condition called a pressure sore. And the name is kind of innocuous, but it's a horrible, it can be a terrible thing, and it can lead to death among people in wheelchairs. And what occurs is a person that's been sitting for a while, you're sitting and you've been sitting for a while, so when your butt starts to get sore, what do? You fidget. You get that pain signal that tells you to move. A person in a wheelchair doesn't get that pain signal, and so we need to remember to move, or else blood flow can get cut off and tissues start to die. So this is a pressure sore. Don't worry, I'm not going to gross you out. It's a drawing. So this is a pressure sore probably after the first day. Okay, so a person in a wheelchair might not realize that they have one, and so they won't notice it after the first day. And what inspired me to work on the project that I started working on, I have a really good friend who, he's a quadriplegic, and he's in a chair, and he had an air seat, an air cushion, and one of his chambers leaked, and he didn't realize it all day long. So his butt was sitting on the hard surface underneath all day. Your butt bone is pushing against the hard surface. And he ended up with a pressure sore. He ended up needing to spend 1.5 years in bed for it to heal. Because when you get one, you can't sit on it until it heals. Okay, so it's not like if you have a sore in your foot, you could walk around on crutches and on one leg in crutches. Okay, you need to sit. If you're in a wheelchair, you can't. You don't have any other choice. So I started working on a system that would warn the user after they've been, or remind the user that they have to shift their weight. So this was my first version of it, and what I came up with was a device that has an internal timer, and this first version had 2 lights, One of them, I think, was a status light, and the second one was, it was a green LED that would fade to red. And when it turned red, an alarm would go off, and it would remind you had to do a pressure release. And then the very early version, settings were set with a bunch of toggle switches, and settings were limited. The options were very limited, but that was the way I was doing things. But that was 3 years ago, and then today, that's the current version of the pressure assistant, and yeah, I've got a video here that'll show you even more about it. So go ahead. Every day, individuals with limited mobility face a condition that can lead to weeks or months of treatment, bed rest, and the disruption of daily activities. The condition is a pressure sore. Pressure sores begin to form whenever a person is seated or laying for an extended period of time without moving. A sore can form in as little as an hour, and a serious one can lead to further disability, infection, and even death, as was the case with Christopher Reeve, and depending on severity, can take months or years to heal. My name is Jonathan Campbell. In 2004, I was paralyzed in a bicycle accident. Over the years, I've been very fortunate. I've been able to avoid getting a serious pressure sore. But I have friends who have spent weeks, sometimes months, in bed recovering from pressure sores that they received while sitting in a chair. Where an able-bodied person subconsciously shifts their weight whenever pressure becomes uncomfortable, a person with impaired sensation is unable to recognize discomfort, and so doesn't feel the same urge to move. It's generally recommended that for every 30 minutes a person sits, they do a pressure release for at least 2 minutes. For a person in a wheelchair, this means leaning forward, leaning from side to side, or when using a power chair, reclining backwards. With all the distractions in our daily lives, it can be easy to forget to do pressure releases. New patients often use timers to alert themselves to do pressure releases. Timers are not only difficult for people with limited hand function, but they also need resetting and can easily be turned off. Most importantly, a timer is simply an alarm and doesn't help develop the habit of doing spontaneous pressure releases. This is what inspired me to come up with what I hope is a solution. It's called the Pressure Assistant, and it helps warn users when they've been sitting in one place for too long. The Pressure Assistant is a small device that can mount on any wheelchair and is connected to a pressure sensor placed under the seat cushion. It has a built-in progress bar that shows a user how long they've been sitting and when they'll need to do a pressure release. Progress can also be monitored with the Pressure Assistant mobile app on any Bluetooth-connected phone. In its basic mode, when the progress bar reaches 100%, an alarm sounds and continues until the user begins doing a pressure release. As the user releases, the progress bar decreases until they've completed their pressure release, at which point a tone will sound and the timer will reset. If a user is unable to sustain a continuous release, the Pressure Assistant allows the user to rest or change positions. The user can pause several times to shift positions before the alarm continues. In its natural use mode, the Pressure Assistant allows a user to do pressure releases spontaneously, much as an able-bodied person does. As the progress bar increases, the user can do a pressure release at any time, and doing so will deduct time and the progress bar will decrease. In this mode, a user gets into the regular habit of doing spontaneous pressure releases, and could go an entire day without ever hearing the alarm. Sometimes it's not always convenient to do a pressure release when the alarm sounds. The Pressure Assistant has a snooze function that allows the user to delay their pressure release for up to 5 minutes. The user simply needs to shift their weight briefly until they hear the snooze tone. Then the progress bar will deduct 5 minutes. The Pressure Assistant mobile app allows the user to monitor their sitting progress and configure the settings of their device. The app allows the device to connect to the Pressure Assistant online portal, allowing the user or seating specialist to analyze data, spot trends,
and manage settings remotely. The Pressure Assistant was built from the ground up to be expandable. It has a stackable modular design that allows for extensions that add additional functionality. The head unit can be removed and with an extension be placed anywhere on the chair while the body of the device is stored out of sight. A standard audio jack on the side allows for the addition of an extra speaker. As an alternative to an audible alarm, a vibrating motor extension can be connected and placed on an armrest or headrest. The Pressure Assistant has been designed with research and institutional uses in mind. The addition of a Wi-Fi module adds the Pressure Assistant to a network where it can be monitored remotely, allowing a nurse's station to track the pressures of multiple users in real time. The Pressure Assistant online portal allows a seating specialist or researcher to monitor large numbers of subjects. Administrative tools allow researchers to monitor multiple users, assign users to groups, and adjust the settings of all the devices in that group remotely. For subjects without a continuous wireless connection to the internet, the data logging module allows for the collection of long-term data to be stored to an SD card for later analysis. The current prototype of the Pressure Assistant features all the functionality shown in this video. In the future, it might be able to monitor other areas exposed to pressure, such as heels and elbows, and provide feedback through other devices, such as smartwatches. I'd like to find beta testers, rehab centers, and research institutions to study the effectiveness of the device, and would like to partner with a company or individual who can help bring this product to market. I think that this is a device that can help a lot of people, and I want to get it onto the chairs of people who can benefit from it as soon as possible. If you're interested in more information, check out the website at www.pressureassistant.com. So that's the device I've been working on for the last 4 years now, and I just recently, over the winter, learned that my patent was approved, and I was soon going to have a patent on it. And the let's bring up the PowerPoint again. This particular unit is special for one reason. I sent that off last week to a rehab hospital in the Midwest that's going to do a pilot program on the device to find out its effectiveness and hopefully apply for a grant next year, a research grant next year. So that's what I've been working on. But there's one more version that's very special. This one here, you can see the insides of it. It's my dad's 70th birthday coming up soon. And so there's my dad.
I still look the same.
Yeah, I think that was after your high school graduation, right? Was that what that was, or something? So anyway, are you able to go back to that slide real quick?
Which one?
Right there. So I brought that with me, Dad. That's for everything you've helped me with over the years. And lastly, I want to thank everybody, everyone that's part of the TSN, the volunteers, and works with patients. And I want to thank my family and Lori and Jason, who was one of the first OTs I ever had after my injury, who I've kept in touch with all these years, and I'm so happy you were able to make it tonight. Yeah, and one last thing I want to mention is there's somebody who was going to be here. I don't know if everyone heard about Kristen. I'm not going to mention her last name because, okay, you guys can say it, because of HIPAA, but she's in the hospital with some condition they can't figure out. So everyone, please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And lastly, if you're interested in learning more about my device, this is the Jonathan Campbell network of websites. Go to pressureassistant.com if you'd like to learn more about the device. If you'd like to learn more about my recovery, I have writings from literally like right after my injury, all the way up till recently. If you want to find out how I manage to do things with the hands I do, I have a YouTube channel called Building with Idle Hands. And lastly, my dog has a YouTube channel that you might be interested in. Yeah, that's it. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to present tonight. Thank you.